Okay, hello everyone. So today we're going to do a presentation on Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So we did Maldives a couple of weeks ago, and because there are similarities, there are dissimilarities, and it's interesting to understand both the destinations so we know how we can sell which destination to whom. And if you think of them in terms of distance, also they're probably equidistant from India and in terms of flight connectivity. So today's entire presentation will be Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So that's like, yeah, this is Radhanagar Beach from Barefoot, which is a resort we book a lot. So I'm just going to start with, some images. Or do you all want to tell me what comes to mind when you all think of Andamans? We can do that also quickly, like 1 minute. When you all think of Andamans, what comes to mind? You guys can chat, message on chat.
Clear water,
Or
lot of nature.
clear water, lots of nature, beaches, diving,
Yes.
scuba
Fish,
diving,
fishes.
fishes, remote islands, water sports, tribes, luxury question mark. Yes, there is a little bit of luxury, but definitely not as much as Maldives. Like it's not the first thing that comes to mind. And similarly, tribes is not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Maldives. So yes, that jail, the cellular jail, the penal jail, coral reefs, no internet. Definitely, that was a big difference in terms of internet connectivity in Maldives, which was probably better than anywhere in India. And Andaman's internet connectivity is definitely really poor, which is also a good thing if you want to completely disconnect, but it's really, really poor. And coral reefs.
And ferries also.
And ferries also to get around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, cool. So that's good. I mean, of course, you'll see a lot of overlap. You'll probably have mentioned things that y'all mentioned for the Maldives presentation also. And as we go through the presentation, you guys will kind of get an idea of how it's similar, how it's different, hopefully. So we'll start. So I'm just going to start with a few images of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This first picture, this is actually taken barefoot. So Barefoot is a resort that we book a lot. Barefoot is also a destination management company. That means for Andamans, they can book transport for us. They can also book hotels that are non-Barefoot hotels if you want cheaper hotels. But they have two properties. Both of them are very beautiful. Of course, the more luxurious and the more premium property is what they call Barefoot Jungle Resort. And we'll see more pictures of that. And that's on what's Radhanagar Beach, which you can see over here. So this is the property is there. This is just like a 1 minute walk through trees, and then you reach this very, very beautiful beach. This is the beach, the same beach that we are looking at. This is if you're in the sea or if you're looking back at the beach, and these beautiful maua trees, which we're going to talk more about this also, but this is definitely one of the most stunning, iconic images of Andamans for me, which you never ever really see a beach, turquoise blue water, and a rainforest behind. You always think about it as coconut trees and palm trees. And this is just to give you a sense of the rawness of Andamans, which luckily it still has a lot of it, the rawness. Like you remember when I spoke about Maldives, a lot of it was very manicured. Andamans at least is dissimilar that way. This is again one of the beaches. So you can see the waters and the sand. This is a beach on the opposite coast of Havelock Island. And these trees that you can see, these are like probably 100-foot trees. These were all casualties of the tsunami in 2004, which hit Andamans and Nicobar Islands especially really badly. So these would have fallen down. And then this is Neil Cove, again another small stretch of beach just after Radhanagar Beach. You can reach it by foot from Barefoot. That's Rakhi from Barefoot. She sent me some pictures for the presentation. And this again was the most beautiful thing is at least this one coast of Havelock is you walk through these trees for 2 minutes and then you reach the beach and you just have these beautiful tall trees and then you'll hit the coast. Okay, so some overview and facts about Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Oops. Andaman and Nicobar Islands comprise of 572 islands. Only 37 or 38 of them are inhabited. That means people live on them. 325 of them are Andaman Islands. That's and in 70%. So the Andaman Islands are bigger and they're more north. 247 are Nicobar Islands. They're more south and cover 30% of the landmass. In total, it comprises 8,250 square kilometers. So it's not, some of the islands are quite big, especially the main island on which Port Blair is. It's a long island. So to give you a perspective, it's 2.5 times the size, if the landmass of all the islands put together would be 2.5 times the size of Goa, landmass of Goa. Would be 1/5 the size of Kerala or Switzerland. 27 times the size of Maldives. So if you put all the Maldives islands together and all the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, that is 27 times bigger. How were Andaman and Nicobar Islands formed? Does anyone remember what I mentioned about Maldives, like what kind of islands they were? If anyone wants to unmute themselves and answer that question.
Didn't get your question, sorry.
Yeah, Joy?
Didn't get your question.
When I did the Maldives presentation, I mentioned how the Maldives Islands were formed. Does anyone remember that?
Oh, no.
Okay, maybe no one remembers that. So basically all the Maldive Islands are coral islands. So they would probably be coral reefs over ages which would have risen, and then you have these islands. That's why the Maldive Islands are very small. Andaman Islands, even though small and out there, you would think they're coral islands. They're actually not coral islands. They were formed because of the collision of tectonic plates. The India, that's the tectonic plates on which all the continents and all the oceans rest, and they move about very slowly. And a lot of mountains in the world are formed when they kind of crash against each other. So the collision of the India plate and the Burma minor plate is what would have caused the creation of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which is interesting because the Himalayas were formed the same way. And the Himalayas are known as one of the youngest. They're known as fold mountains because two plates banged against each other or are still banging against each other, and they keep getting crested and go higher. They say the Himalayas still grow at like, I think they say like 1 or 2 centimeters a year. So they're still growing. The plates are crashing. So Andaman and Nicobar Islands were also formed the same way, the same collision. Okay, location of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It is 150 because it's out in the ocean. It's 150. The southernmost point of Nicobar Islands is 150 kilometers north of Indonesia. It's 550 kilometers west of Phuket. It is 190 kilometers south of Burma, the northernmost island. Location continues. It's 900 kilometers south of Hooghly River, so that's around Bengal. It's kind of equidistant, 1200 kilometers off the coast of Kolkata, Visakhapatnam, and Chennai. So my point being it's further off from mainland India than from many other Southeast Asian countries. It's located at the juncture of Bay of Bengal and Andaman Sea. Andaman and Nicobar Islands have rich coral reefs. They're beautiful coral reefs. Like unlike Maldives or Lakshadweep, Lakshadweep is also actually just an extension of the Maldive Islands. They're not coral islands. Some Andaman Islands are flat. So like Neil Island is extremely flat. There is no bump. And some are tall. So Saddle Peak at 750 meters is the highest point in amongst the islands. So 750 peaks, to give you an idea, that's almost as tall as Mathiran. So for an island, it's quite good. Like it would, if you would trek it up, because you can trek up Saddle Peak. It's in the north part of the main Andaman Island, it would be about like a 1.5 hour trek, depending on how fit you are. And then you get beautiful views of the ocean all around. Okay, this is also interesting in terms of flora. Basically, the vegetation you have, they're known as tropical rainforests. There are 2,200 different kinds of documented varieties of plants that have been found on Andaman and Nicobar Islands. 200 are endemic. Okay, can someone unmute themselves and tell me what does endemic mean? Please fast. I know someone knows. If not, then Adina.
I have no idea, to be honest.
No, no. Wait.
I think it means local to that area.
Exactly. So endemic is something that's local to just that ecosystem. So 200 varieties of plants will only be found on Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And that was Christine who said?
Yeah.
And actually this gets very interesting. So it can be, you can have something that's endemic to Andaman and Nicobar Islands as a collection of islands. They have plants and mammals that are endemic to a particular island. So you have some fauna, which is flora, which is only endemic to Nicobar Island. Some which is only endemic to these 3 islands in Nicobar Islands, because they're just so disconnected from the world outside. Like you wouldn't have a pollen and you wouldn't have a seed flying off and falling. So it just grows by itself and you won't find it. And similarly, actually, even in the Western Ghats, you have a lot of frogs that are endemic only to this mountain range. And you don't find it anywhere. So 1,300 of the varieties of plants are not found on mainland India. So the flora and the fauna is actually very different from mainland India because it is so far out. So fauna in terms of animal life, 50 different mammals are found. Some are endemic, I meant, like it's called the Andaman wild boar, which is endemic to, there's a long-tailed monkey, so like a monkey, which is only endemic to 3 local Nicobari islands. They also have saltwater crocodiles. So actually, for the size of the islands, it's quite diverse. Again, I'm trying to make the point is, of course, they're beautiful oceans. It's hilly, so there are good mountain ranges. There are rainforests. I probably don't have the facts over here, but I think 70 to 80%, probably 70 to 80 or maybe higher, of Andamans is still in its natural forest state, just like the Northeast presentation. So it's very forested, lots of tall trees, lots of different mammals, plant and animal life. So it's quite stunning. Okay, so this to give you an idea of, so okay, I think in my presentation that was wrong. So Burma, actually this is, so Coco Islands, it was actually is also part of the same archipelago. So it belongs to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, but at the time of independence, it was given to Burma. So it's, and this island is only about 30 to 50 kilometers from the mainland. So Andaman and Nicobar would only be 45 kilometers from Burma. So you have Burma over here, you have Thailand over here, you have Indonesia over here, you have Malaysia somewhere down here, which would also be closer to Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Again, to give you a sense on a bigger map, this is what we are looking at. And this is the Bay of Bengal, this is the Andaman Sea. So which also, because it's surrounded by this, all of these countries, and the very sad thing is because of a lot of ocean plastic. So a lot of ocean plastic comes from Southeast Asia and gets washed on the eastern shores of most of these islands. So even Havelock Island, and I'll show you a more zoomed image. On the Radhanagar side, the first images that I showed you, that's facing India side. So maybe it's just a drift of the ocean. The plastic from India doesn't come here. But there's a lot of plastic that comes from here. So you go on the beach and then you find like discarded water bottles and everything. And they're not from people who've been holidaying at Andamans, but you pick it up and you like see it's made in Malaysia. So I saw trash from like Burma, from Thailand, from Malaysia, from Indonesia. So it's all ocean plastic that's being drifted and brought to shores. This is a zoomed map of all of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So you get the sense of from north to south, which I don't know how many kilometers that is, but it's quite vast. In the 10-degree channel itself, this is 150 kilometers from Little Andamans to Car Nicobar Island, and then you go down to Nicobar. I probably didn't mention this over here, but I think most of you guys know that all of the Nicobar Islands are out of bound for tourists. In fact, it's out of bound for Indians. So it's only the locals live there. and you can only very rarely go there if you have permission or invitation from a chieftain from Nicobar. It's even though it belongs to India, for even a government official to go there, they would need permission. So the only few times that we've established contact was, I think, after tsunami, because they had to go and do a surveillance of what was the extent of damage. But otherwise, they're just kind of by themselves. Okay, this I didn't know, but I did some research on Wikipedia. So, history of Andamans. Documented evidence suggests humans lived here. The first humans lived here in 2200 BC. But genetic and cultural studies show that the first humans were found over here 33,000 BC in the Middle Paleolithic ages. But this is the second thing is a fact that some of the islands have Sentinelese people which have actually not been contacted since the Paleolithic ages. So they would actually be living like cavemen. And there was that one instance of that American missionary that because even Andamanese would not go to the Nicobar Islands, and he convinced a fisherman, because he was a missionary, he wanted to spread the word of the Lord, and he got to one of the islands, and he was killed with a bow and arrow. And again, it's very important because these people have just lived by themselves. They do not have immunity. The immune systems would be extremely weak because they've not probably had a common cold, because that strain of virus just never exists over there. So any contact from the outside world can completely wipe the population off. So it's very important that they're left like that. Like we might think that we're going there with like a good intention, but we can like wipe off the entire population. So this was just like an overview of the history of Andamans, like during the Chola Empire. So there are a lot of temples in South India, and I've mentioned about a great Chola temple. So there's mentions in the scriptures over there that Andamans was occupied at that point of time, and they would attack Indonesia. So this would be the Chola Empire spread across Tamil Nadu, and then you would have the eastern coast, and then from there they'd probably go to Andamans, and then Indonesia is just on the south, so it's not too far. This is mentioned in the Tanjore inscriptions. Marco Polo, the great voyager, also mentions about these islands. I don't know if he went there, but he mentions about it. Then there was European rule. There was the Danish rule. Danish East India Company established presence. So on 12th December 1755 is when they established presence in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. For those of y'all, like we always talk about like the British colony, but we've also had spheres of influence by Danish rulers. So there was Fort Kochi and there's Tranquebar. Tranquebar is, I think, south of Pondicherry. So then it's just across the ocean from Andamans, far off, but across the ocean. So they first called it New Denmark, then called it Frederick's Islands. This I found very interesting that because at that point of time, any kind of, especially since we're also living in a pandemic, whenever there used to be an outbreak of any contagious disease, people used to abandon the place. So they repeatedly, a lot of European rulers kept abandoning Andaman and Nicobar Islands when there were malaria outbreaks. So in 1778 to 1784, Austria found it and they took claims. Like I still don't know how Austria made ships and stuff because it's landlocked, but they took it up. And then the British rule was established in 1789 when they set a naval base and a penal colony. Does anyone know what's a penal colony? Christine?
No, I don't know what this is.
Come on, I know you know. I know someone knows. What was Australia?
Australia during one of the world wars was one place that they took all the prisoners to and they kept them there.
Exactly. So that's like a penal colony. So where you just like basically outcasts all the. So even, I mean, that was the history of Andamans. That's how the Britishers used Port Blair. They use it as a penal colony to especially place all political activists and people over there. So it's by the Britishers, it was set as a naval base and a penal colony to extradite unwanted people that they didn't want. So there was a period where the Dutch and the British occupied it, and then in 1869, Dutch gave complete control to British. And in 1858, Britishers established Port Blair and a cellular jail. Then you had World War II. For a short time, this was under the Japanese. And this actually, I don't know if Arina, you went from Port Blair, you go towards Ross Island, and you can actually see Japanese bunkers, which they built during the World War II. So
I've
it
not,
was, sorry?
I have not done that.
Yeah, but they're actually Japanese bunkers from World War II, just off Port Blair. And then post-independence, Britishers wanted to resettle all Anglo-Indians and Anglo-Burmese there to make it an independent nation, but clearly nothing happened. Christine, can you tell everyone what are Anglo-Indians and Anglo-Burmese?
All right. So Anglo Indians are a community found in India. They're called Anglo Indians because they've got basically putting it, they've got European blood in them. So either a great grandfather somewhere was British or Dutch or Portuguese, and they married an Indian and they've got that blood in them. So they're called Anglo Indians. And I'm guessing Anglo Burmese means the same thing except in Burma, not in India.
Exactly. And because that's what the entire British Empire, I mean, it spread to Burma and Myanmar, so it was all one massive empire. It was interesting that they thought they would make it like a country, like would make sense, but didn't happen. And then post-independence, since independence, it's been part of India. Sorry, that was a long history. Okay, now we get back to the stuff of relevance to us. Okay, so again, backstep. Andaman and Nicobar Island consists of 572 islands, out of which about 37 to 38 are inhabited. 275 of them are Nicobar Islands. For us, they're no good because tourism, you cannot go there. It's good because it must be absolutely stunning and absolutely beautiful. Just to give you a small story, when I stayed at Jalakara and there was this guy called Kirti, he's come to office. So he worked as a ranger at Jalakara. So he basically did all the activities. He took people out scuba diving and kayaking and everything. And he's been on the islands for like a couple of years. And he knew a Nicobari person. Like, so there was one Nicobari daughter who was a daughter of the chieftain who studied at that school of design in Ahmedabad, Mika or something. So through that, basically, he got an invitation to go to one of the Nicobari Islands, and he was talking about it. And it was so like from Andamans, it would take like from Port Blair, it would take a day and a half on a ship for him to reach over there, and the chieftain would come and pick him up on the shore, and then like he's like the locals would just walk into the sea and like just take a stick like castaway and fish crabs and then cook and eat. And very few people would have seen Nicobar Islands. So anyways, only 325 islands are the Andaman Islands. Even a lot of Andaman Islands are out of bound. So actually right now the places that we sell are very limited to Port Blair. If a night is needed at the start and the end because it's the airport. Havelock Island, and this is in bold because this is the island that we sell the most. Neil Island, which I went and I spent a day. And again, the couple of reasons, I mean, of course, all of Nicobar is out of bounds. Rest of Andaman and Nicobar, tourism has really not developed. So it's either really far, like 200 kilometers, but you'll have to take an 8-hour boat to get there. And then there's not a single hotel, or there's just one or two very simple B&Bs. So there's just no tourism infrastructure development. As a backpacker, and Mavish knows, we've done one trip where they did a lot of other places which will now come. So there's Diglip, but it's basically because of the lack of tourism infrastructure, because of the difficulty on the road journeys, that again, for our audience, it doesn't make sense because we can't plan it. But as a backpacker, you could do it. So there's Diglipur, which is on the, I'll show you all in the next map, which is on the north and supposed to have very beautiful beaches. There's Little Andamans, which is south, which is supposed to be very beautiful. There's Long Island. This is another island which is kind of developing like Havelock. So a few resorts are coming up. There's Rangat, there's Baratang, there are a bunch of places. So, okay, this is a map of just the Andamans part. So Port Blair is over here, Neil, Havelock. For us and for this entire presentation, we're basically only going to talk about this because this is of most relevance to us. Long Island is up here, which they say has beautiful beaches and a few boutique hotels that are coming up in due course of time. Then there's Rangat, and there are a lot of, you can see a lot of tribes and stuff over here. Diglipur is over here, which is supposed to be very beautiful. Smith Island, Ross Island is supposed to be very beautiful. And then there's Little Andamans, which you don't see it over here, but it's south over here somewhere, and you take like a 8-hour boat. There's Baratang Islands, which is supposed to be beautiful. But again, in this presentation, Maya Bundur also, in this presentation, we won't talk about these places. But for the entire planning team, if someone wants to do an extremely offbeat Andamans itinerary with these places, Barefoot organizes an entire itinerary with bookings and transport. So we can take an entire quote from them and give it to them. I would feel personally, since neither me or Adina has seen these places, I would feel more confident recommending these places after we firsthand gone there, inspected at least a few places to stay. And I also feel tourism will have to develop a little more before we'll be able to recommend those places. So right now it's just basically Havelock, Neil, and Port Blair. Okay, so now just a quick overview on Port Blair. It is the entry and exit point for Andamans. Have to fly here. It's going to become an international airport in a year or two, which will change the face of tourism in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, because as you saw, it's very close to Southeast Asia, and that entire, the banana pancake trail is always looking for a new island. And then you'll have cheap flights from Bangkok and stuff to Port Blair. So we might see a lot of tourism movement that where people enter into India from Southeast Asia, take a flight to Port Blair, and then come towards India. So they say Diglipur will have an airport in 4 to 5 years. Port Blair, it's a small city. You can walk around the sea. You can rent a bike and roam around. Not a lot of people do it, but you can do that. What I definitely liked about Port Blair is definitely the city where you see most amount of local life, because there are a lot of locals that live there. While Neil and Havelock is definitely just centered around tourism. So it's still nice, Neil and Havelock, but you don't get to observe local life as much. Like in Port Blair, we saw school kids walking around and school buildings, so that was really nice. Has a bunch of museums. Adina, I'm going to finish this and then that you talk about it. Has a bunch of museums, has the cellular jail, which is very interesting, especially for Indians because of the entire history. And I did the sound and light show, which was really eerie and just talking about the entire British occupation and how they tortured and how they imprisoned political prisoners over there. Personally, I really enjoyed it for a day, but not an absolute must. Also, this again, because the psyche of our travelers, if Andamans is towards the end of the trip, they're kind of done exploring. They are just looking at it as an exotic beach destination. So for most of our clients, I think it would still be just get them to Havelock as soon as possible. Because they have limited time, they don't want to waste it. They just want to get onto the most exotic beach. But erratic flight connections means you want to give a night either at the start or the end. And I know there's always concerns about ferry connections, flight connections, night before, night after. So I've done a slide at the end, so I'll explain all of that. So that'd be good for the booking team also. In terms of hotels on Port Blair, there is Barefoot Nest, which is a service apartment. It will not be fine for luxury travelers. So if you're giving someone Barefoot or Jalakara, unless they're young people and it's school, I would not give them Barefoot Nest. But for anyone else, it's fine. It's a service apartment, nice rooms. It overlooks the. Adina, did you stay at Barefoot Nest?
No, I booked a very cheap Airbnb for myself.
Okay.
But my sister, I think, stayed there.
Stayed there. But anyways, guys, in terms of luxury, Seychelles is really beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's on this point and a very good view and a lovely rooftop bar. Really nice if you're spending a day. And Fortune Resort Bay ITC is really nice. These are just some glimpses of Port Blair. That's the cellular jail. It's an aerial view, and then you see the ocean all around. Okay. Adina, you want to talk a little about Havelock?
Sorry, I was just in the kitchen. Do I want to talk about what?
About not Havelock, about Port Blair.
Yeah, so I spent a day in Port Blair, roaming around mostly by rickshaw. Over there, lots of rickshaws. They're like no meter, but it's like priced all right. Like it's not too expensive if you know how to bargain. I visited the Anthropology Museum, which is quite old, like design, old-fashioned, but it's very interesting to learn about the tribes, to learn about the like where do the people come from, what kind of genes do they have, do they like, I think they're like more Indonesian than they're actually Indian and all of that. So what Abbas explained earlier. So that was interesting. Takes around, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes. Then I went to the prison as well. The prison is super crowded, lots of domestic tourists, but still very interesting. And it's all about the freedom fighters for India. That like there's a huge exhibition that honors the freedom fighters for India, and you learn a lot about the history, and it's very anti-British. Then you have a beautiful view from the top. You can actually see here there are like 3 stories. You can walk through that and see like each and every cell. And then you can go up on the roof and you have a beautiful view around. So if there's good weather and the clouds are coming in, sometimes you can even see all the way to Havelock, which is kind of cool. And definitely see Ross Island and stuff like that. So that is cool. I unfortunately couldn't see the light show because on that day it wasn't happening. I think it's only every second day or something. Oh no, wait, the English one wasn't happening that day. So I think there was, I think the English light show is only happening every second day or something like that. But yeah, still very interesting to visit the prison. Then I also like close by are many like local street food, not seafood restaurants, or like traditional Andaman food, seafood, where you get like crab and you get like the whole fish and stuff. So that's really cool. What else did I do in Port Blair? I think that's about it. Yeah, important is what I wanted to mention for Port Blair is we had recently the case, I think, with 2 trips where the ferries would be in the afternoon, but they would land in the morning. So there would be a lot of time in Port Blair where we could ask Barefoot, if like we booked with Barefoot, which most likely is, to like take them around and maybe take them to the museum. The important thing is, though, the prison and the anthropology museum are shut on Mondays. So I had a client unfortunately getting there on Monday and they couldn't do anything. I think we told them to see the market. The market is not that nice, but for somebody who doesn't know India really well, maybe the market is interesting. But otherwise, tell Barefoot, tell the booking team that they should go to the Anthropology Museum or prison until the ferry comes. Because around the ferry, there's nothing. There are no restaurants, there are no cafes, nothing. Yeah, would be a waste of time to just hang out there.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Arina. So I just wanted to add, yeah. So I mean, look, yeah. So I agree with Adina's point, and we should be more careful in terms of. It'd be nice to have a car, and then they can just go sightseeing. They can see a few points. Ross Island is also really nice because it has these old bunkers and it's got history, and it's just like you just go to a point, take a little ferry for 10 minutes, and you go there and you spend like an hour, and then you come back. So with overall, invariably we'll have to give a night unless we get very smooth connections. But like Schnell, when we had Trish's trip, like in hindsight, like for them more luxurious place to freshen up, but then we could have given them a car to do some sightseeing. So it's just that with Port Blair, it's nice to just have a car for the sightseeing and organized, because you as a tourist, you don't know what's there to go and see over there, and you're in that mind frame that, oh, it's a beach destination, so you don't really think that you can see a few things. So it's good if we can just plan it. So that's the cellular jail. Okay, now the fun starts. So now we look at Havelock Island. So this is one of the main islands out of which tourism is based. It's a very beautiful island. It's a most popular resort. No, I mean most popular island is what I meant. It's 92 square kilometers. So how big is that? If you had a motorbike, and in 45 minutes, you'll be able to do an entire round and probably go over every single road that the island has. Radhanagar beach number 10 was voted as Asia's most beautiful beach according to Time magazine, I think in 2010. And most of the images that I showed you at the start with like the rainforest behind, white sand beaches and the endless ocean, that's Radhanagar beach. It is absolutely gorgeous. So only Barefoot actually, and then Taj Exotica, and then a couple of hotels are coming. Only those are on Radhanagar, which is the west coast, which faces India. Most of the other resorts like Barefoot, Scuba and everything where Adina stayed is on the east coast, is on the opposite side of the island. The beaches over there are more rocky. So Radhanagar, white sand, calm waters, tall maua trees, absolutely beautiful. Now these are the things that you can do in Havelock. There's a lot of water sports. You can go snorkeling, you can go scuba diving. Wait, I have a question. Let's see who's there over here. Trisha, what's the difference between snorkeling and scuba diving?
Snorkeling means you just view corals and like from above, like top. Just put your head inside and just look around. Whereas scuba diving is you go deep inside the sea and experience the corals and stuff.
Exactly. In scuba diving, you'll have an oxygen canister, so you can dive much deeper. And then it's a more technical dive, so you need training or you need to do it with an instructor. But it allows you to go much deeper into the coral reef. While snorkeling, you'll just wear a kit with a little pipe hanging out and then surface level. But even in snorkeling in Andamans, you will see a lot of marine life. So we went through all the water sports, if you remember, in Maldives. So you have a lot of those options. You can do sea kayaking in mangroves and bioluminescent at night. And this is something that Maldives doesn't have. Maldives doesn't have a lot of mangroves. And I did this, and it is beautiful, just stunning, like really beautiful, and just untouched and unspoiled because unlike the mangroves of Bombay where they've just destroyed everything over here, it's just how it always was. You can do stand-up paddling, so a lot of water-based activities. Uh, and then there are other things to do like chill because it's just beautiful. It's just the beach and take a bike, roam around, and then chill. You can rent a bike, enjoy the island, go to other beaches. You can go to the forest also. Barefoot and Jalakara does a little forest hike. Even Havelock, despite being one of the most touristy islands, I think more than 60 or 70% of the island is still under forest cover. So there's still a lot of beautiful nature. Uh, can go to other islands, very expensive private boat. And I will talk more about this, and which is the sense that I want you, when I spoke about Maldives, I told you about trips where you can, especially when you're staying on the local islands, you can do a day trip or a half day trip where you go to different islands, different snorkeling points and come back because they're small islands. In Havelock, you can do it, but they're more expensive because the islands are a little far off. Permission is also an issue, so they have to pay the government more. So the island hopping, which I think Schnell also did in Philippines, is quite expensive in Andaman. So you still more or less just stay on the island. So you will go to Neil Island, you'll take a ferry, but it's not exactly island hopping. It's not exactly you'll sit in a boat, go to 2 islands today and come back. Relax, unwind, read a book because Havelock is very chilled and beautiful. How long? Again, because most of our holidays in Andamans will be structured around Havelock, I would say at least 4 nights because you're going to be tired the first day. Then it's just beautiful. So 4 nights, but you can also spend 6 to 7 nights. Which hotels? Barefoot Jungle Resort, that would be option number one. Actually, no, number one, or Jalakara. Jalakara is absolutely stunning. Just a quick note, and I'll show you all images. Barefoot Jungle Resort is on the beach, which most people want because they're on a beach holiday. The only thing about Jalakara is it's 2 kilometers away from the beach because it's an island and it's on a little hill. So it's surrounded by beautiful nature. But Jalakara is one of the most exquisite, most beautiful boutique hotels that I have seen in India, like amongst the top 5 that I've seen in India.
Abbas, can I say something quickly?
Yeah.
Like Chalakara is closer to the stony coast on the east side. So if you want to go to the really nice beach, then it's around a 15 to 20 minutes ride on the scooter. So it takes a while.
Yeah, it takes 15 minutes. Exactly. It takes 15 minutes. But so that's the thing, Adina, like, because since I stayed at Jalakara and the way it works out is, because like this is the thing, and I just want to stress over this is because after I went back and we spoke to a bunch of people and they still chose Barefoot because it's on the beach. But Jalakara is just exquisite. And it's not that big an issue because what you do at Jalakara is you go, you have breakfast, then you either rent a bike or they have a free transfer. They drop you to the beach over there. And Barefoot and Jalakara has a very good relationship. So Barefoot Jungle Resort will not be open to any other public. But Jalakara, people who are staying at Jalakara can come and use Barefoot facilities. They can use the restaurant. They can use the bar. They can use their part of Radhanagar, which is a very private part of the beach. So it actually works out quite well where you go in the morning, you spend the entire day, you eat over there, you use all the facilities at Barefoot and then come back to Jalakara. And I'll show you all images, but what Jalakara offers, because it's just a 7-room boutique property, is just phenomenal, just phenomenal. You can do a split stay between Barefoot and this. And I missed out Barefoot Scuba, which is where I also stayed and where Adina stayed. even so that's on the opposite coast, on the eastern coast. It's a very beautiful property. They have these beautiful villas. It's like a penthouse, like a single story villa. It's really beautiful, very cozy, very cute. The only thing, there's access to the beach is an extremely rocky stretch of beach. Like you can't swim over there. You just cut yourself. Barefoot scuba. CGH Earth is coming up with a new resort, so we'll wait till it's done. But honestly, between Barefoot and Jalakara, Barefoot Jungle Resort is also absolutely stunning. Budget options are quite poor, but we can give Winnie's Island and Flying Elephant. Okay, so these are some images. Again, this is Neil's Cove, so this is part of Radhanagar Beach. This is Barefoot Jungle Resort. This is one of the cottages. So the entire Barefoot Jungle Resort is spread over 20-25 acres. And because you remember, you all saw the tall trees. So it's literally like a forest. So it's a forest in which they have all these cottages. Like, so these are rooms. It's very, very, very tasteful, very elegant, very earthy. And you're just 2 minutes walk to the beach. And that's kind of the walk. You walk through this patch of forest and then you're on this beach. And while Radhanagar is it's a 11-12 kilometer beach, and it's a public beach, other people can use it. The part over here, only barefoot people use it. So it's very, very private. This is actually barefoot scuba side. This is what I meant. You go through the trees and you walk through Barefoot Jungle Resort. Okay. But so basically I'm saying, no one will be unhappy with Barefoot Jungle Resort. It is absolutely beautiful, very good service, very tasteful. It doesn't matter which room type. I have not shown you all images of the AC tented suites, which is a lower category, which we book a lot, but it's totally luxurious, air conditioned, beautiful. It's just that they are a little further off. So it's like a 2-3 minute walk from there to the main reception and 2 minutes walk to the beach. The other cottages are closer to the beach. None of the cottages have direct beach access because it's kind of like this 200-meter forest before the beach. So if anyone says we want to open our door and see the ocean, none of the room types offer that. But even the lower category, the AC tented suites are fantastic. They're massive, they're air conditioned, beautiful bathrooms. It doesn't matter. This is Jalakara. They have only 7 rooms. And all of them are different. So this was our room. It's called a sky room, and it's just the aesthetics of every detail. This had a little sit out. You had your own couch in the room. This was the swimming pool, and this is like the little bar area. It's really nice. So like you have a swim, and then like everyday dinner is catered to you. They talk to you and ask you what they want to make, and then you come over here, you have a few drinks, there's nice music playing, and then the restaurant is up here with just 7 tables. So you know everyone who's staying over there, and you talk to them in the evening. How was your day? This is like the lounge area. This is again the room. This is another room. All the rooms are exquisite, and they're just beautifully done. Each has its own private sit out. Some has a private terrace on top. So they're all done beautifully. It doesn't matter which one you stay at. Okay, so we're kind of done with Havelock. Now we'll go quickly to Neil Island. Neil Island is a small island. It's 45 minutes from Havelock by ferry. It is only 13.7 square kilometers, so 1/7 the size of Havelock. 20 minutes ride on the island and you'll see the entire island. The thing about Neil Island is it's more stuck in time. So it's not had as much hectic tourist development as Havelock has had. So it's interesting. It really looks like it's like just back in the 70s. You can do very good scuba diving and snorkeling. The unfortunate thing about Neil Island is there's no swimmable beach. All the beaches are extremely rocky. So if Neil Island just had a few beautiful swimmable beaches, then I would recommend it to more people. There's a natural bridge and marine life over there. I'll show you images over there, and it's called a marine life sanctuary because you just have rocks, and from there at low tide you can see like sea cucumbers, and you can see all of these different marine life just standing over there. How long in Neil Island? 1 to 2 nights, or you can omit Neil Island also. Not a must give, only Havelock is fine. Where to stay? There are really no boutique hotels in Neil Island. So Seychelles, Neil Island in luxury, and Fat Martins is a budget hotel. It's like an eco-style budget place that we can give in budget. So this again, Neil Island, just some the tall trees, and it's, so actually this is an image, an aerial view I wanted to show you of Neil Island. Like if you all compare it to the Maldives images, you can see that it's a lot more forested. And it was really nice. We did a bike ride and then you see all these fields and everything. It's there in another image. So this was really fun. It's just flat and you ride one side, you reach the beach in 10 minutes. You reach the coast in 7 minutes. You go the other side, you reach the coast again in 7 minutes. But this part was really nice. There was a little local school and this was around the time of elections. So it was in the local school, they'd set the election booth and everything. So it was nice to see that democracy at work at even a tiny island. This is the natural bridge. So this is a natural, and you can stand over here and then you can see a lot of sea life. This is one of the beaches there. Okay. So technically with that, we've completed the 3 major stops: Port Blair, Havelock, Neil Island. Okay. And I want to reiterate, most of our holidays will be based around Havelock. If they have longer time, they have 7-8 days, sure, you can give a day or 2 or a day in Neil Island, they can enjoy it. But typically we've seen in our itineraries, they really only have 4 to 5 nights. And it's at the end of the trip, they just want to relax in a nice boutique place. So we only give Havelock. Now this is for overall for Andaman and Nicobar Islands by air. Kolkata and Chennai are most convenient because they have the most number of flights, about 3 or 4 or 5 flights a day. And I just planning team, pay attention over here. There are direct flights from Bangalore. There are direct flights from Visakhapatnam and 1 or 2 direct flights from Delhi, Mumbai. So it's actually, for how remote Andaman and Nicobar Islands is, it is actually very well connected by flights and from different parts of India. And what I'm trying to say is you can actually add it, and I've done another slide on that, to any itinerary. Even if someone's doing Rajasthan and wants to end, they can go. If someone wants to do Hampi, Mysore, Coorg, and then want their luxury people and they want to do fantastic beach time, don't send them to Goa, don't send them to Kerala, you can send them to Andamans because they're convenient flights from Bangalore. By boat, there's a government boat that takes 72 hours, bunker class, no luxury class available. So this is actually no good for us. It's only for locals and for supplies and everything. So if someone asks us, because we can't book this in advance, and a backpacker can do it, but for us, we have to get them by flight. And you can drive there if you want. There's a big ocean, but yeah, maybe not. Okay, this is ferry and transport. Be very careful. Joy, Alia.
Yes, Abbas.
This is the main slide.
Yes.
Okay, so point 1, 2 p.m. is the last ferry from Port Blair to Havelock. Okay, most of our itineraries just have Havelock. So the latest you want our flight to reach is by 11 a.m. latest 11:30, what Rakhi said, and then you can get them. And remember, and you guys know this, in terms of transfers in Andamans, it's all organized. So you come to the airport, they will pick you up. If you're staying at the nest, they'll bring you over there. From nest, they'll take you to the jetty point. The jetty point is kind of like a little airport. You have a little security check, you check in your luggage, and then you go over there and everything. You have to reach 45 minutes. But basically, all of it is organized. Then you reach Havelock, they'll pick you up, they'll bring you to the resort, then they'll drop you back. So everything is included. What I'm saying over here, so Alia, 11 and 11:30, this was pre-COVID times. So now we don't know what will happen in the next year. A lot of it will change because even the flight connectivity will change. There were about 13 to 14 direct flights to Andamans every day. That will change. So, but anyways, let's assuming that in a year from now, everything is fine, the same flight schedule, then this is what it should be. 2 p.m. is the last ferry. So 11 a.m. If you have a flight booked and the flight gets rescheduled, then immediately problem. So they should raise alarm bells.
Yeah.
Okay. 9:30 a.m. is the first ferry from Havelock to Port Blair. This is all keeping in mind if we don't want to give Port Blair at all. So any flight after 1 p.m. is fine. Okay. Schnell, Viveka, Samir, you all guys are understanding this, right? And I will share this with you, but these are the important touch points. Okay, so I know there's been a lot of back and forth where we've been changing the Port Blair night from the first night to last night to first night. So I spoke to Raki, and Raki said invariably with inbound, what they do is uh, they try and get them early and get them to Havelock and give Port Blair a night at the end. So then what we would do is then there's a 4 o'clock, there's a 4 p.m. ferry. So they take a 4 p.m. ferry from Havelock to Port Blair. And then the next day they have their flight home. So even if it's an early flight or a later flight, the flight gets rescheduled, it's fine. So Alia, I think by default now when we plan our itineraries, if the flight is reaching, now sometimes if it's from Delhi or from Bombay and the flight reaches after 11 a.m., then we give Port Blair at the start. Otherwise, we will first give Havelock and we'll always give a night at Port Blair at the end.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, as Adina said, we will also ask them to include the sightseeing by default if there is a Port Blair.
And again, over here, when I'm saying 4 p.m., there are earlier ferries also. So if someone is interested in some sightseeing in Port Blair, we can give them an earlier ferry. And if next day the flight is early. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, by giving a night in Port Blair at the end, in case the flight gets rescheduled, listen, that we are safe because they're already in Port Blair.
Yeah, correct.
If they reach Port Blair late for whatever reason and miss their connection to Havelock, it's still fine because we can give them a hotel in Port Blair.
Yeah.
If they reach from Havelock to Port Blair late and miss their flight, then it's going to be big problems. So that's why it's better that we give Port Blair at the end.
At the end.
Makes sense, no? And sometimes people are asking us, can we take a private speedboat or a seaplane? None of this is possible. The ferries are big, lots of people. It's a very comfortable. It's like a catamaran, air conditioned and everything. But it's a big one, lots of people. And when I went, there were lots of Indians. So basically, the government has the leave travel allowance. And after the tsunami, they were promoting Andaman and Nicobar. So it's a lot of annoying government employees with families. They were very noisy, but that's fine. It's a big ferry, but it's fine. And the ferry also, to give you an idea, it's air conditioned, tinted glasses. Actually, when you're in a ferry, you can't really look outside, but it's very comfortable. And it's
You
about.
have a picture?
I don't have a picture right now, but we'll Google it at the end. I'll show you.
Okay.
So now Andaman and Nicobar Islands, how long? Ideally, at least 5 nights. I would say minimum when we're negotiating with people, the conversation when you're making a plan, a lot, at least 5 nights. Because lesser than that, with all the flights or you're spending, not worth it. 4 nights possible if you're getting them straight to Havelock. Because I just feel anyone going to Havelock for 3 days will find themselves shortchanged for how beautiful it is. So more days, you can also spend a week. Can spend a week in Havelock also. So if you sense that the client is just chilled and wants to relax on the beach, you can spend a week also because it's just so beautiful. And can give a Neil Island. If someone is looking for an adventurous trip and wants to see other islands, then just be very sure you speak to them that, hey, traveling is very long, traveling is uncomfortable, accommodation is very simple, it's hectic. And if they're still fine, then we just take an itinerary from a Barefoot and then we plan that for them. And this, when such itineraries come up, I'll sit down with y'all and explain to y'all. But just make sure that the client is up for the adventure. It's not for everyone. Ideal for and when? Okay. For me, ideally, Andamans is ideal for those who can afford Barefoot and Jalakara, because Andamans with Barefoot and Jalakara is just the most complete experience because they're just the most beautiful boutique properties in just such a special destination. That just, so comfort and luxury, always give them Barefoot and Jalakara. Now, if you have budget travelers even, but still try and edge them, and especially if they are a couple that if they're doing 5 nights, 3 nights, you can give them at Barefoot Scuba or Winnie's Island, but tell them that can you push your budget to stay for the last 2 nights at Barefoot or Jalakara? It would be totally worth it because it's really beautiful. If they have 5 nights, else flying it is. Yeah. So what I meant to say is, through the entire conversation, whenever someone mentions Havelock, always try and say them minimum 5 nights is what we recommend. It's great for couples. It's great for families. Solo travelers, not so much because you're not going to meet people. But of course, if it's a solo traveler who just wants peace, wants to chill by himself, is happy with his own company, then you'll have a fantastic time. Budget travelers, exactly. So just weigh the options. If they're super conscious about the budget and factoring the flight and everything, then, but if they still want to go because it's exotic, and then you can book something, and if you find cheap flights, but just be a little conscious with budget travelers. Definitely anyone looking for a rustic, unspoiled experience, and that's the beauty about Andamans. It is very rustic and raw and unspoiled, so people will really enjoy it. Even if they've been to Maldives like me, or been to, okay, Philippines I've not been to, but been to other islands, Andamans definitely has its own character, so they will enjoy it. Germans and Europeans would love Andamans. They usually love something that's raw nature, like even Americans would like it, but if they're the kinds who really want their luxury, if they have Andamans at Jarakara, it's fine. When to go? November to April is clear season, no rain, great diving. November, so guys, remember that November to April. December to Jan is busy season with Indians and international tourists. I went in April. I found that to be a fantastic month because there was no rain, there were less crowds. It was hot, but only in the afternoon. And it's an island, so it doesn't matter. October and May you can go, but after mid-May it starts raining. So I would say usually after mid-May don't plan it. And October tell them that it could be raining. June, July, August, September is when it rains and it's off season in Andamans and Nicobar Islands. Resorts are still open. I think Barefoot is only fully shut during the month of July. From whatever I've spoken to people, it is extremely beautiful in the rains because it's like a rainforest and it's really green. Even if it's raining, you can actually scuba dive because it's amazing. You could have a storm on top, but you could have very clear visibility once you're in the ocean. But for our clients, because they're looking at sun, it won't make sense for them to go. So it wouldn't work. But for an Indians, my point is you can go. Like it's not as like I wouldn't. If someone was telling me I want to do a 2-week trip to Rajasthan from 15th April to 15th May to 30th May, I would tell them don't go. Just don't go. This, if they really want, they can go, and it won't be crowded at all and everything. But for us, it's normally going to be November to April. Okay, can be sold with, so ideally, Andamans, if they have 3 weeks, then if it's a first trip to India and they're exploring other things, if they have 3 weeks, Andamans can fit really well. You can do a Tamil Nadu itinerary. This can also be a 2-week thing. So you can just do Madurai, the entire circuit. You can combine it with Karnataka, Hampi, Mysore, and then fly them from Goa. You can combine it with Kerala and Karnataka, with Rajasthan and Andamans. It also combines very well with Northeast itineraries, Orissa, Sikkim itineraries, because Kolkata is close by. So remember that we had done, actually one of our first Andaman trip did Andre Zagwiger and who also on the cooking class. They had done Northeast, a 10-day trip with Firan, and then they had done Andamans. And I recently sold an Andaman trip to Ushi Bhatt, who's one of our repeat client, and they did Sikkim, few days in Kolkata, and then they did Andamans. And they had a fantastic time. So whenever we are doing itineraries with Sikkim, Kolkata, Orissa, and a lot of them, actually a lot of our Orissa clients would typically be slightly older clients, clients who've been to India a couple of times, will have a little money. So Orissa and Andamans can be a great combination of like offbeat and then beautiful beach. Because from basically from Bhubaneswar, there's a short flight, or you can take a train back to Kolkata and then you can fly. So keep that in mind, guys. Northeast and Andamans also can be combined really well. So you like just keep all of this in mind. Just a quick one, Goa or Andamans. Goa offers more to do, more places to eat, more places to stay, things like that, more yoga. Single couple, anyone, doesn't matter, they're going to enjoy Goa. So someone on a budget, Goa. Otherwise, like what I want to try to say is like the beaches cannot compare. Of course, Andamans is completely different, but the Goa vibe in terms of the yoga, the different places to eat, and this and that doesn't exist in Andamans. So in Andamans, you're still going just for that exclusive beach holiday.
Can I say something to this?
Yes, please.
So I just wanted to give my view from this because I went with my sister and her boyfriend. So considering like the typical Middle European couple, not too well traveled, but they've been to Goa with me before, and we've been to the Andaman now. So while the Andaman is just gorgeous to look at, and they're really, really cool activities to do, like scuba diving, snorkeling, and the kayaking and stuff like this. It is expensive, first of all. Like each and every activity costs like European prices. So if you have a budget couple, they can maybe do 1 or 2 activities, but if they come for 7 days to the Andaman, they will only have 2 days of these activities, and the rest like just driving around with the scooter, because it's just simply too expensive to do anything else. So in that sense, Goa is better, because even though the beaches and the water is not that nice, you have the cheap food. You can go every day to a different restaurant. You have the sunbeds at the beach. You have the parties. You have bars. So all of this is not there in the Andaman. So while it's really, really gorgeous, it's not as touristically organized as Goa. So Goa just has these way more activities. So you have to really find out what your client is like. If they are fine with this rustic experience of not having a sunbed at the beach, like I stayed at the scuba place, and while the bungalows were gorgeous and the activities they offered were great and the service was good, there was no sunbed at the beach. We could just not just lay at the beach and do something. We cannot, in low tide, you can just not walk in the water and swim. In high tide, you can, but not in low tide. So there might be people that complain about this because they just don't know what to do for 5 days. That's my point. And in Goa, that would not happen.
Exactly. And exactly, actually, this was also the reason why I wanted to include the Goa slide, and which is why, so Adina, now for me, like, that's why I kind of stress where the best way to do Andaman, especially for our clients, is if you are the Jalakara or the barefoot client, where you have that much money, because that in combination is like paradise, like is paradise, because in which in my modules and this also, because it's just so boutique and beautiful. And that's also,
if a client fills out the form and says, I want to do scuba diving or snorkeling, in comments, you have that sometimes, especially the Germans, we had that a couple of times. And if they then have a comfort budget, then definitely give Andaman. But if they say budget and backpacker and say beach holiday, then give Goa. Don't even mention the Andaman, in my opinion.
Exactly. I completely agree. I think overall also with activities, some of the activities for its value, like the barefoot for snorkeling charges 1,500 and 2,000 is quite ridiculous, and also per dive it's more expensive. And
I also want to mention that when I was there, and they didn't tell me when it would start again, but snorkeling was not happening. There was only diving because somebody died 6 months before in snorkeling.
So that also I spoke to Raki. So all of that has changed in terms of for the last 3 years. It was very restricted to you could not go to the offshore dive sites, because like when I told you guys about diving, it's about going to different reefs and stuff. So that really limited the number of dives you could do in Andamans, but all of those restrictions are lifted now. So now you can go for offshore dives, you can go snorkeling and everything. So now it's completely changed. It's back to normal, but it is still expensive. That's the only thing.
We actually went then on our own, like there's this one beach, like a 5-minute scooter ride from Barefoot Scuba. So on that same coast, on that east coast, sorry. There's a couple of spots where you can just go, if you have your own snorkel gear, you can just go in the water and you have amazing marine life, and you didn't have to pay anything for that. And we did that twice and it was damn amazing.
Nice. So I think that's actually a good point, which we should tell all our clients to just carry their snorkeling mask, which in Neil Island also you can do it. You can just, borrow it for $200. I mean, just rent it for $200, and then Neil Island also has excellent snorkeling. So yeah. So anyway, so again, to sum up also what Adina said, because I'm again reiterating over this point, if someone has the budget, go for it. 4 days, 5 days. And also I would say if someone is super keen on marine sports, then okay, then they would still. But if someone is looking at just a beach holiday, and I wouldn't say Goa beaches are shitty, like Agonda is very pretty. I mean, not Maldives. So you're just going to have a fantastic time over there also.
Abbas, sorry, quickly. I went, by the way, for everybody, I went in September and we were there for 1 week. And I think we only had 1 time rain, maybe twice rain. And other than that, it was really gorgeous. It was super green. There were lots of really green rice fields. So if you go in the countryside of Havelock, like inside, it's just damn gorgeous. We see so many birds and stuff. And I don't know if that's there in other times of the year, but for us, September was absolutely fine. It gets hot, but other than that, it was absolutely fine.
And you make a good point over there, which is, it was quite green when I also went, but I'm sure it must have been greener when you went. And that was also for me, one of my highlights of Andamans was just taking the bike and riding into, because it's got fields and it's got countryside, which Maldives doesn't have. So I really, really enjoyed that about Andamans. So, but I think you can send people in September also. And also with Andamans, I would check with people that you ride a bike, because if you go to Havelock and you ride a bike, then you can just enjoy the island a lot more. If you say, no, we don't rent a bike, then that will restrict what you can do and see. Okay, so now this is kind of the last slide. Maldives or Andamans. I'm just going to go over the pros and cons. They're both tropical islands with excellent beaches, marine life, but are different destinations. Maldives pros, like the images that I showed you, the most amazing indulgent resorts with all the luxuries and hundreds of them. Amazing white sand beaches taken for granted. And this is a point that I want to make. In Maldives, everywhere you have beautiful white sand beaches without it being very rocky, so you can just go into the ocean. With Andamans, then some beaches are just so rocky, so much coral, you just can't easily go there and swim. So overall, Maldives has, I won't say better beaches, but has more beaches that are swim friendly. But in terms of the view, white sand, ocean, they're both equally beautiful. Like amazing snorkeling and diving, easy access. So I did more snorkeling when I went to Maldives, because that time I started doing more and it was phenomenal, like I told you. And in Maldives, especially if you're doing what I told you, the local island tourism, then you can do amazing diving, amazing snorkeling, and it's really cheap. In Andamans, it's expensive. Very cool island hopping trips and everything. Speedboat connections are just a lot simpler. Like there are 3-4 speedboats and everything. And if you, very good upper budget places to stay. So like that 4,000 to 6,000, Maldives has a lot of those options. You can visit it year around. Tourism is a lot more developed. The downsides, it's more touristy. Maldives is definitely, like, you can't compare it. Is way more touristy than Andamans. It doesn't matter whether you're on the local islands or the resorts. So with Maldives, you have to tell them it is touristy. You will see lots of tourists. Like even a local island will be a lot more touristy than Havelock, which is the most touristy islands. And even Havelock will not feel as touristy. In ways, Maldives is just too concrete. It doesn't have the natural rawness. Island to island, resort to resort is very similar. Like it, because it's all flat, good beach. It's very similar. Like doesn't matter where you go. No hills, no rainforest, no wildlife, no biodiversity. So it is not your maroon castaway island all by yourself, because you're still always going to share it with people. Andamans is not as touristy. Like I said, even Havelock, despite the tourists, in April it didn't feel that touristy. Gorgeous waters, gorgeous beaches, but you have to pick your beach. Amazing marine life, snorkeling, diving, but it's more expensive. Of course, the big standout of Andamans is the rawness, the hills, the trees, the forests. It's unlike anything. Pros, for me, Jalakara and Barefoot are just such beautiful boutique hotels and they're around 20,000 a night, 15 to 20,000. So it's a fantastic price point. Where Maldives has indulgent resort after resort for 70, 80, 1 lakh, but it's still not blending into its natural surrounding, what Jalakara and Barefoot is. The downside of Andamans is tourism is not as developed. So there are just limited places to go. Ferry frequency is poor, so you got to make sure of all the connections. Limited places to stay, especially for budget. Scuba diving restrictions, actually now that's lifted, but still in Maldives you can go on a lot more dive sites. So if someone says that all he's bothered about it wants to do as much diving as possible and wants to add, then we can still tell them Maldives and if they don't have a lot of money, to do the Maldives backpacker islands. Island trips are limited. It rains a lot in June to September. But any guesses, which one do I like more? Does anyone want to?
Jalakara.
No, whether I like Maldives more, whether I like Andamans more.
Andamans.
Yes, that is correct.
Abbas, you missed one more point. I think we should also say about internet connectivity in Andamans and Maldives.
Yes, yeah, I missed that. Definitely, Maldives has phenomenal internet connectivity. So if anyone asks you, they can work from there, they can stream, they can watch Netflix. It's better than internet connectivity in Bombay. Like I told you, you'll also get it on the boats. Andamans, internet does not exist. Like, it's crazy. If at all you'll only get 3G, so you cannot work. It's sometimes even difficult to even check your emails. So you want to tell that to people. So if someone says that, no, I have to be connected and I have to work, it doesn't matter whether hotel has Wi-Fi, whether you have a dongle, you will not have internet in Andamans.
Can't even make calls, like even the normal connection to make calls and SMS doesn't work.
Yeah, it won't. So you will be marooned, which is fine. This is how it should be in such a place. But if someone's sensitive about that, make sure you tell them that. Okay, just before we end and then I take questions, I just want to share this. This is a very nice, it's kind of like a time-lapse video in Little Andamans. It's about a 2.5-minute video, which I want all of you guys to watch, which kind of sums up Andamans for me. And then we'll take questions. Can you all hear the music also, because the soundtrack is also very nice? Can you all listen to the music also?
Very, very, very low it is.
Yeah, increase the volume.
Wait, then I
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, now better.
Better.
It's gone.
Where is this, Abbas?
This is in Little Andaman, so it's a 10-hour boat ride, and they say in total Little Andaman has only 50 beds. 50 beds. Yeah, 50 beds.
It's really gorgeous, eh?
This almost makes me cry. I want to go back. Hope you all enjoyed that. Wait, I need to go back to my. So, I mean, just to sum up, I mean, yeah, for me, Andamans is a very, very special place. Like, the raw beauty of it just moved me. Like, there were times when I was just like, am I alive? Like, how can it be so beautiful? Those trees, those beaches, and Maldives also was gorgeous, was amazing, and just so much fun. But it didn't touch me in the same way that Andamans did. And just the idea that I've only seen like maybe 5% of Andamans really excites me, because I can't wait to see like places like Diglipur, even if we're not able to sell it, just to be able to explore those places. I'll send you guys a video. There's this nice video of this, actually this local Marathi boy, and he'd done a backpacking trip and he'd done the Saddle Peak trek. and it's just this huge trek which is completely forested, and he goes to the top and everything, and he shoots a video and talks about it. It's quite nice. Okay, everyone. So what we'll do is we'll take a quick 5-minute break, and then we will do questions and then the Kahoot. Cool?
Sure, Abbas.
So, yeah, I just wanted to know, how are the budgeted stays in Andamans? Is it similar to like the local island B&Bs in Maldives, or like what are the standards? Because if I'm suggesting it to someone who's a bit comforty but doesn't have the money, like would it be like a wrong, like?
That's a very, 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 very good question, and that's my problem also. So unfortunately the budget is crap. So literally, like in Havelock, so that because Havelock is our most important thing, there is barefoot and there's Jalakara. If you go there, you have to stay there. There's barefoot scuba, which is excellent, but it's already again 7, 8, 9,000 depending on the season. Okay. Now, apart from that, we still need to find, there are not that many. There are 15, 20 options in total. There are few very ugly 3-star hotels, because it also gets a lot of Indian tourists. So these are very boring, blah hotels that are built for these make my trip packages and everything. And the worst thing to do is if you're going to Andamans and then you're staying in this ugly 3-star concrete hotel, right? So really, yeah. So the options are quite bad. Either they're very ugly hotels, and then they're like Winnie's Island is they're basically eco huts. The location is beautiful because he's on a nice, he has a very nice cafe and a very nice stretch of beach. But in terms of all that we book is Winnie's, and there's Flying Elephant, which is also an eco place. But those are very basic in the sense that they are kind of shack kind of places. So to answer your question, no, the budget hotels are nowhere close to Maldives, which has cozy, nice, and good comfort. This, so it's a huge problem for us. We really just have hotels in that 15,000. We have barefoot scuba 7, 8. And the rest, not, we'll still look for more when we have inquiries. We book Winnie's, but no, they're just not nice. Does it answer the question?
Yeah, so does that mean then for like someone with a budget comfort, then Maldives is our only option? Like,
No, I wouldn't say Maldives is the only option. If you want to go to Andamans, my point is I would first see, can they afford Jalakara or barefoot? If they cannot, can they afford jungle? Or what I would give them basically, if they're like, say like me also, like I tell them, look, it's a simple, it's the Winnie's Island is nice. It's simple. I mean, it's a beach shack and everything, but it's very rustic and you're on the beach. So I would basically try and tell them, stay 3 nights over here and stay 1 night or 2 nights at barefoot.
okay.
But I like, it would be just, there were just couple of nice options, like a nice simple B&B close to the beach with a nice room for 2, 3, 4,000, it would be sorted, but just doesn't exist. So we'd have to look for it. But like I no, would you give Maldives because accommodation, that the different experiences. So
Okay.
so I think also with this, a lot of time, the conversation would kind of started, like they would know that they want to go to Andamans.
I honestly think it's going to change in the next couple of years, because there are more accommodations opening up now, and on the other side of the road, like barefoot is basically close to the beach, then behind that is the road, and then on the other side are a couple of new places that are building up. I was there in off season, so a lot of these places were shut and still in the like getting built. But I think, like, especially when then it opens up to international flying, it's probably going to change because more Thailand tourists will come and these expect cheaper places. I think it's going to change.
Probably for the worse, unfortunately, if too many tourists come.
But
Yeah,
also,
but yeah, what? So we'll keep keeping an eye. I think once we get a nice, even a comfortable room and not an ugly hotel, then you're sorted. Because if you get a accommodation for 3,000-4,000 a night, because you can still enjoy Havelock, because you still have a bike, you can go everywhere, you can still go to Radhanagar beach, and there's at least enough dining options. There are 3-4 places like Full Moon and things like that. Thanks, Viveka. Other questions? Schnell, Joy.
Want to know about Ross Island? Means, is it? Which I've heard about it or may have seen. that is good for this, what we say, a tourist attraction. But do we have any accommodation there or anything like that?
The Ross Island close to Port Blair.
Yeah.
Nah, so that is accommodation कुछ नहीं है. It's basically just वो you go. It's a 15-minute ferry ride. It's an historical island because it has the bunkers and even the Britishers, they had their first naval base over there. So you see everything and you come back.
That's it.
It's a excursion, like
1 day
it's
excursion.
like not even like Elephanta Cave. It's even closer. You finish it and you come back.
Okay.
Aziz has a question. He's mentioned in the chat.
Who?
Aziz has a question. He's mentioned in the chat.
Most of the time I have seen we give more barefoot than Jalakara. Why? So Aziz, good question. I think what puts people off is that Jalakara is far from the beach, because you're going to an exotic island, and to think that you'll be 7 kilometers away from the beach is just counter common sense. Like, you're going to a beach and you're 7 kilometers from the beach. That's why people just choose barefoot, because they always ask us how far is it from the beach, and we say Jalakara is 7 kilometers away from the beach. But
isn't there also a price difference?
Actually, a little bit more expensive. Actually, quite similar price, because Jalakara has actually, do they have 7 or do they have 8, 9 rooms? But no, they're in 3 categories, but the lower category is, they're actually very similar price. Maybe 10-15%. Depending on season, it is between as low as 12,000 to 20,000. But it's just even for me, I because I really like barefoot also. But barefoot is still a 25 room. It's still not a big property for spread on 25 acres. So that no one will not enjoy barefoot. It's like a CGH. They do a wonderful job. But Jalakara is just, especially for couples, I would give Jalakara. It's like that place. Like, you all saw the pictures. It's just wow. You saw the property, na, Dina? You met Kirti, na?
Which one?
Jalakara?
No, I didn't go to Jalakara.
You didn't go to Jalakara.
Couldn't reach it because I couldn't make any calls.
Right. So yeah, Aziz, that's why we don't give, but that's what planning team, Schnell, Viveka, you can always recommend Jalakara. I think a lot of people who would see the reviews and the this and other kinds who want something boutique, they will say they want to go to Jalakara. Then they'll ask about the beach. You can tell them that, but it still works out, because you can just go there, chill, and then you can come back. And sometimes you can do a split stay. But also a lot of people don't want to do a split stay, because then once you're on the beach, you don't want to like stay somewhere 3 nights and change. But when I speak to Jalakara and Rakhi, she says they do a lot of people who spend a week and then they split 3 nights and 3 nights. Because Jalakara and
I think it's okay after 3 nights beach to go there, because like after 3 days of beach, you had enough beach.
Exactly. So that's what I did. So I'd spend 1 night at barefoot, 2 nights at scuba, and 2 nights at Jalakara. So, and it was perfect, because then we still went to the beach, but then just chilled over there. Property is so beautiful, man. So also interesting, huh? So Jalakara, Adina, Jalakara has a room. So Jalakara is little hilly, and it's on a little plantation. Jalakara has a room, and that room then has a private access to a terrace. When you're standing on the terrace of that room, you're on the highest point of Havelock Island.
Whoa.
And then you get a beautiful view. You actually can't see the ocean. They just, like, you see the ocean far, and then you see the little hills around and greenery, and just how green the island is. And the food is also exquisite. Okay, other questions?
Wait, there are higher hills on the other side. That can't be.
No, they're not higher hills, but you can see, like, it's just the way the island turns around, so you can see greenery. Like, you can't get you're probably higher, but you see.
Okay.
Abbas,
Hmm?
you said for Trish, we should have booked a car, right? And given her when she arrived. But the thing is, she had a flight from Mumbai at 2 o'clock. She reached at 8 o'clock, and then her boat was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, wouldn't it be better to book a room for those clients who get up so early and kind of were traveling the whole night?
Yeah, so that's a very good point, na? Because this one we flew off from Bombay. See, the flights from Chennai are still okay, 6 o'clock. This was just a horrible thing, like, because they're not slept the entire thing. So in hindsight, and also Nest would not work for a luxury person. So I don't know if maybe we can check if she styles or something gives a room for 4-5 hours. What would have been ideal is not in a car, to book them a room at a high quality room for 4-5 hours, because they would have been too tired to do any sightseeing also, and they were not the kinds who wanted to do any sightseeing.
Okay.
But
And
what I'm saying is, like, yeah, this with all, like, just run the itineraries again for these connections. We got to be very careful where we should make a timeline of the entire thing. What time are they reaching? How much time is left between this?
Was also a slight mistake from the barefoot team that there were changes in the ferry timing and they did not inform us. They thought
Yeah,
they will take care of it, but it didn't work with Trish because she wouldn't listen to them at all. So
exactly. No,
yeah,
they also
we
informed
need
us
to know.
later, but so this also, Joy, I'm going to give you a little more responsibility, because just before checking this will be picked again, just look at this micro thing, question it, and ask me, okay, kya ho raha hai idhar? Where will they be?
Yeah.
But
Sure.
yeah,
We have a process now. So Chintan and Navin being our main point of contact all the time for all the bookings, we will ensure we check with them everything before the clients is going to book. Like small, everything for sure.
Detail means when they are reaching, what is the procedure, what they do. Like
done.
Yeah.
Mavish, what's inland transportation? Like you mentioned, a client has to take a 10-hour drive to Diglipur. For a budget client too, it will be a private car. Good question, Mavish. I don't, there is a, so see, again, kind of like Maldives, because all the islands form one day. So there are local ferries, but they run, once a week, twice a week. So you can go from Havelock to Diglipur by local ferry also. But I don't think there will be any local buses. I'm not sure. So for Deborke, it worked out because they could still afford the car. But for the trips that we plan, so there would be a way to do it with local transport, but that's not something we can cater to, because you might reach a day later and things like that. Like, and they also stopped at Baratang and all of that on the way. But for us, even if we are doing these offbeat places, it will be with transport. No one has any other questions?
I got one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Means you told that Maldives being like they are powered by diesel and all.
Yeah.
Andaman being close very far means they are also quite far from the coast and all. So are they also powered like this, or they are eco-friendly, or they have some resources like that?
Very good question, Joy. I'm glad you remembered that. So even I am pretty sure, like I know for a fact, Havelock Island is completely powered by diesel. They have diesel. Basically, the city has a diesel generator which powers the entire city, and these barrels of diesel come on ships. And so it is the most expensive and like dirtiest form of electricity. So yes, in terms of Port Blair, I need to check. Maybe Port Blair has coal power plants because it is a much bigger island, but I'm not sure. But Neil Island, all of these small islands would be just like Maldives. But like what I was telling you all about in Maldives, the luxury resort, because the power consumption is, even like barefoot, the environmental footprint is not as crazy as a resort, because they don't have a swimming pool, because they're like, there's a beautiful ocean right there. Swimming pool would require water to be clean, purified, this and that. They have no plastic water. It's all just water with reverse osmosis. Unlike Maldives, I'm pretty sure these islands have lakes or stuff where they can get groundwater from. I don't think it will be desalination, because it's big enough, there's enough forest, so there would be water points, but I need to check that. So water that way, they have AC, but you can also, it's nice and breezy, so you don't need the AC all of the time. In fact, some of the higher category rooms, because they're made so well ventilated, they don't have AC. And that way, even Jalakara has a lot of sustainable practices and everything. So it's not like you have a hot water jacuzzi. It's not like the pool is temperature controlled and everything. So it's not as bad as Maldives. Even in terms of the food that you're eating, it's even at Maldives and Jalakara, even though being luxury places, most of their supplies are local. So local fish, vegetables, and at least for Havelock, they can get their fruits and vegetables from the main Andaman island. Like Maldives, it's all flown in from maybe India or wherever. So the environmental footprint would be far greater on a trip to Maldives than on a trip to Andamans.
uh, Regarding the same point, one point I remembered, you said towards the east coast, the plastic and all comes ashore. Does
Hmm.
the tourism department or anyone take care of it, or it's just helpless situation?
It's so that's okay. So like what I for me the most so this is just not immediately related. For me, the most eye-opening thing over there was just how connected we live. Like over there to actually pick trash. Like I remember, like in 5 minutes, I saw made in Malaysia, made in Indonesia, made in Thailand. I found all of it made in Burma, and literally it was like a McDonald's coffee cup. I'm like, someone must have drank a coffee, thrown it, and it's just there, and it's come to this beautiful paradise island. We don't think about it. And it's all ocean. It's come over 200 kilometers and it's over there, and it's like rubber chappals and whatnot. It's all there. uh, Also, unfortunately, even tourists produce a lot of trash, especially a lot of Indian tourists. So you can see paper plates that they've done a little picnic and left stuff behind. In terms of local clean, it's going to be too much for the locals to clean it on their own, because it's just so much that keeps coming even if they clean it. But what they do is wherever there's tourism, so Radhanagar beach, Radhanagar doesn't get as much, but wherever there's tourism, so where scuba is, that part will be kept clean.
Oh,
So that's what I was speaking to Kirti, and Kirti was speaking to locals to take initiatives to clean up the beach. He's like, आप बात करो ना ये वो अगर यहाँ एक resort आ जाएगा, tourism develop हो जाएगा, then पूरा साफ हो जाएगा. But so also since you're mentioning that, the environmental footprint, plastic is a huge problem in Andamans and everything.
oh,
So like I told you, in Maldives, whatever plastic is used, they burn it. They put it on this one trash island. Andamans also, they have little landfills, but otherwise they burn a lot of plastic in Havelock Island. Because like maybe a barefoot is sustainable, but a lot of the 3-star hotels catered for Indians, they just keep giving you plastic bottles. And there's no way they can dispose it off. And I'll send you links also. There's this very nice initiative. There's this, I think, Bombay girl. She calls herself Kachra Wali. She's been doing a lot of initiatives in Andamans to collect all those plastic. So she's like, even if we can just take the plastic from Neil Island and Andamans, which they're either burning over there or leaving in the ocean, at least if we can ship it back to Andamans, which has some landfill, some recycling, that is still going to be better. So they do this very interesting thing, and it's quite interesting. So they, with a lot of backpackers and everything who stay in Andamans longer, they go and speaking to all the resorts, telling them that don't use so much plastic, use water purification, and don't give plastic bottles. And because a lot of resorts just burn their plastic. So they, once a week, what they do is they get a huge garbage truck, and they call it a trash party. So they go to each resort, and then in the and have a lot of volunteers. They bring a lot of plastic, they throw it, and then they jump on it. So they basically get trance music and everything, and then they have a party, and then they jump on it. So all the plastic becomes compressed and becomes like cubes. So that's easy then to ship it off to Port Blair. So it's actually called like a once a week trash party, where you can volunteer, you can go, you educate the resort, use less plastic, collect all the plastic, you listen to music, jump it, cook it, and then you take it back. So they're raising a lot of awareness around that.
that sounds good.
But plastic is a huge problem. Like, and in general, of course, because there's so much less plastic that they can use. Like, I would also say, like, don't eat chips, or don't when you're over there. Like, it's even worse than mainland.
Yeah. Um, there was, I think so. We had once given a government ferry for one guest because they were not, means ferry का कुछ issue हुआ था or something like that. Have you seen the government ferries? How are they? Means I've
I've
just
not seen it. I've not
no
seen
no.
it. No.
I think you shouldn't, because वो एक दो Google पे photo देखा, they were not decent enough. So I just wanted to check.
No, I've not seen it. We'll have to do it. But generally, I think it's just better that we give the. I just see. So this is Alia. You can see.
This is market.
Yes, Abbas, I can.
So this is the cruise that are doing 3-4 operators. They're very good ferries. Very good.
No, I wanted to see it from inside. I
Inside.
mean,
Inside it's like a proper reclining chair, air conditioned cabin. बाहर कुछ दिखता नहीं है. It's like that.
They played really, really loud movies and music, and it's very funny.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions? Or we move to the Kahoot?
Abbas,
Especially
like,
Zainab, Snell, Viveka.
Abbas, like the Maldives hotels, they organize activities and all. I know you said Jalakara, Barefoot and all organize scuba diving, but do they also organize like a private dinner on the beach or anything like that?
Yeah. So see, Jalakara and Barefoot organize a lot of things. They also do like something in Havelock. You go in the forest and meet a villager and you cook and you eat with them. They do private setting dinners and things like that also. But Barefoot Scuba would do it, but other smaller hotels, like if you book, then they're on their own. So we just have to give them tips so that they explore on their own. But otherwise, yeah, they have a lot of activities. Like Barefoot also does a cycling trip, does a kayaking, stand-up paddling, lots of things. But they're expensive, huh? They're all like 2,000 per person.
Also, Abbas, quickly, I don't know if you mentioned this when you were mentioning which type of traveler should we suggest Andamans to. But for people who have kids, would you like, I'm still confused between Maldives and Andamans, because when I was thinking about Gabby, I was like, when you did the Maldives presentation, I said, oh, Maldives. Like, now you're like Andamans now. Andamans. I don't know if I'm too excited about it. I'm like, Andamans is better. But now I feel, I'm assuming Andamans is good. Could you tell me if like it doesn't matter the beach
Say that
destination
last
or
bit
you still
again.
have a preference?
You now feel like you should send them to Andamans. Yeah, Viveka. Hello. Hello. Can everyone hear me? I can't hear Viveka.
Yeah.
yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
Viveka ka network guy, I think.
Okay, Viveka, we'll wait till you're back. Anyone else has any other question? That was a good question, actually.
What for a way?
Hello.
Yeah.
Did you hear my question?
Yeah, I
about-
heard your question. So you're saying that, okay, so after this presentation, you're saying that you feel like sending them to Andamans.
Yeah, but I mean, or does it not matter because they're kids and there's a beach, so like you don't really. But would you say that there is a difference, like for kids, between Andamans and Maldives?
That's a good question. Again, so if they're kids, I would give them Barefoot more than Jalakara, because Jalakara is more honeymoon place. You can give it to kids also, but at Barefoot Jungle Resorts, kids would be very happy. There's enough activities and things to do and this. But in no, even kids are going to really enjoy, because there's the beach. There's still a lot of water sports and it's beautiful nature. They can run around and everything at Barefoot Jungle.
No. So I was asking between Maldives and Andamans. Like I said, I'm assuming Andamans is better because I feel Maldives is still more for the.
See,
like,
for something like Gabby, I think even she has to do both. Like see, kids are going to be entertained even at Maldives, even over here. The Maldives resort-based holiday is going to be 4 to 5 times more expensive than Barefoot holiday, because Barefoot is at about 15,000 a night. This will be 50,000 a night. So Maldives, Andamans will be cheaper. In terms of having fun, Andamans is a very child friendly, like, because again it's a beach and it's an island, you can go into the water and everything, so they will have an equally great time irrespective of where they go. So with her, like, I would just tell her, where do you want to go? Like, do you feel like a more luxury 5-star, that kind of holiday, or do you feel like a luxurious but more tasteful and a more boutique place?
But I want to quickly add to this. I think in the Andaman, if you have a very small child, it might be a little bit exhausting because there are lots of things like like when we were, for example, there, the currents were quite strong if it's high tide, and then there are the stones in the water. Not every beach is like made for kids, like you can cut your foot open and stuff like this. But if you have older kids, like teenager or 10, 11-year old, then Andaman is great because there are more things to do than in the Maldives. In Maldives, you go scuba diving and normal diving, but nothing else. But in I guess I haven't been to the Maldives, but that's what I heard about it. But in the Andaman, you have like, you can go on the scooter and you can see the jungle and all of that. So if you have kids that need to be entertained all the time, Andaman. If you have small kids that need to like just go a little bit in the water and can't swim properly yet, then probably Maldives, I would say.
Yeah, I would say, but even if you have,
Hmm.
even if you have small kids, see, like I'm thinking if I'm taking like a 5-year-old and if they're barefoot, all needs are taken care of. The water is safe over there. Like once they're barefoot, it's still a very child-friendly place. It's like, so it's they're both equally great destinations, but I think Andamans is still more unique. But in terms of child-friendly, they're both child-friendly, so it's fine.
Okay.
Does it answer your question or not so much?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, basically, what you all are saying is Andamans at the end of the day, right? Or
Yeah,
like,
but with her, see, seriously, it's with her because she's got longer time. If she can do both, so it's just matter of which one she wants to do first. Like because that's the thing, they're both different enough that you should visit both.
hmm.
And I wouldn't say that while I said that Andamans is super child friendly, even Andamans is so. But yes, in the sense with the resorts, it's even more taken care of. Like you have the nannies and this and that, and the kids area. It's like a completely luxurious 5-star. You forget everything. So if you're looking at that kind of a thing, then Maldives.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
That's why our local vendor had once suggested a helicopter ride. Do you suggest?
In Andamans?
Yeah, not very popular, I guess.
I'm sure it would be very expensive, but I'm
Mm.
sure it would be extremely beautiful. But
Yeah,
it'd be very expensive. I'm sure it'd really be like 15,000 per person or something like that.
I guess we should ask if Barefoot has some contacts and then
पूछना पड़ेगा, पूछना
we
पड़ेगा, पूछना
yeah.
पड़ेगा. So that's what even with Maldives, whatever I read is like, of course, if you choose a resort with a speedboat transfer, it is cheaper.
Mhm.
But taking a seaplane is beautiful because you are
Get the aerial view.
aerial view because you're not that high that it's like abstract and you can see all these islands from top, so that it's water experience. So I think flying around it would be beautiful. Schnell, Rebecca, any more questions?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, you guys don't sound, but did this presentation help you all understand Andamans better? Then
Yes,
Yep.
Abbas.
okay, cool. So we'll go to the Kahoot.
I wanted to say one more thing. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. When people ask you what to do like for 5 days in the Havelock and stuff, definitely say that they should do that kayaking in the night for the oh god, I can never
The
pronounce
bioluminescent.
bioluminescent. For me, that was one of my highlights. It was damn expensive for like just half an hour or 40 minutes, but it was so cool. Like just running your hand through the water. It's not at the beach. Like in a lot of places in Asia, you will see it like you walk on the beach and it happens. But there you're actually in the mangroves kayaking through it. And every time you put your paddle in the water, it would like shine. And it's very cool. And definitely recommend that.
Absolutely. And also Viveka, to again answer your question, and Schnell, like you know, with a Paul Onina, like we got a sense that he's just super luxury, so we sent him to Maldives. He had a fantastic time, but he would also enjoy barefoot, and he would have a different experience. So we could sell him both. But if Viveka, the sense you're getting from Gabby that she's like the Suzanne Milcher, she from her you easily get the sense that she looks for a more rustic experience. So she will enjoy
Yeah.
Andamans more than Maldives because Maldives is too sterile. But don't worry about the kids as well because kids are going to love it. Because I went to Maldives and I came back and the first thing I was like, I want to take Sanaya over there. It would be like such an awesome holiday destination. Okay, chalo.